This Saturday is UFC Fight Night Denver. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. And what a banger this card is. From top to bottom. Banger after banger after banger. This is the equivalent as if UFC 300 was a Fight Night card. Thank God this isn't in the Apex. Because this is a straight up heater with basically title contentions in every single fight on this card. This is going to be my UFC Denver full card predictions. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you a quick breakdown. And obviously I'm being sarcastic about this card being great. I don't think it's horrible though. It's not treading in the territory of Amanda Lemos versus Verna Jandiroba. This card actually has some very intriguing matchups on it. It's not the greatest Fight Night card, but I don't think it's completely terrible. Let's start off with the very first fight of the night. Josh Fremd versus Andre Petroski. You know, Josh Fremd, at points in that Jamie Pickett fight, he was getting out-grappled and outstruck. I know he ultimately won, and, you know, he's fought some decent opposition. You know, in his last 3 losses, he lost to Roman Khabibulov, Tresean Gore, and Anthony Hernandez. So at least the Khabibulov and Hernandez losses aren't that bad. And then you have Petroski coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Jacob Malkoun, had that weird like KO loss. It was very, very weird. I don't even know. There was like a collision and he fell to the ground. It looked like almost he threw the fight. Before that, got KO'd by Michel Pereira. No shame in that. Listen, Josh Fremd is not a great striker. He has some decent kicks and he kind of relies on his clinch and grappling. And I think Petroski is going to be able to stuff those takedowns. I think he'll be able to out-grapple him. And I think he has better striking overall and nasty power. So I'm picking Petroski to get it done. I'm going to pick... I don't even know. I'm going to pick Petroski. I'm going to pick him via KO. I'm going to say Petroski gets it done via second round KO. That's what I'm picking. I think he's better on the feet. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns of Josh Fremd. I am, you know, a little bit worried because he is at a 4-inch height disadvantage, 3-inch reach disadvantage. But ultimately, I think Josh Fremd is going to be trying to close the distance, looking to be able to get a takedown. And I think Petroski is going to be throwing those big winging haymakers looking for a finish. I think he finds it against Josh Fremd, who recently got finished by Roman Khabibulov. And I think Petroski, unless he completely fades and gasses out and Fremd just out-grapples him, I don't see him losing. So I'm picking Petroski second round KO. Next fight on the card. This is actually a banger. I'm not even kidding. Montel Jackson, Damon Blackshear. Great fight. Really looking forward to this matchup. Could see it going either way. Look, Damon Blackshear, I hate to elevate guys off of losses, and I typically don't. And I don't even want to do it here. But very, very razor-thin close with Mario Batista, who I believe is a future title contender at bantamweight. And you could even make the argument that it should have went to Damon Blackshear. I wouldn't make that argument, but it was very, very competitive. Before that, twister against Jose Johnson. Before that, a KO win over Luana Lacerda, not that great. Before a loss for Farid Basharat. Lost to Farid Basharat. So he's fighting decent opposition. He's 29 years old. He's super aggressive on the feet, has good grappling. But then you have Montel Jackson, who's pretty slick on the feet. He's on a 4-fight winning streak. Not fighting the same level of opposition. KO'd Ronnie Yaya in his last fight. Beat Julio Arce via decision. Beat JP Bays. Beat Jesse Strader. So Damon Blackshear has definitely fought better opposition. But I think Montel Jackson, with his straight punches, he's more technical on the feet. He's more defensively responsible. He has good grappling. Damon Blackshear... You know, he took down Mario Batista, couldn't really keep him there. You know, even I think Jose Johnson worked his way back to his feet as well. Now, eventually got him down, submitted him. So I'm going to go Montel Jackson to get it done. I think it's going to be a very close, competitive fight. But I don't think that Damon Blackshear is going to be able to just get Jackson down and control him nonstop and maybe find a sub. I don't think that's going to happen. Blackshear has 9 wins via sub. But Montel Jackson has never been submitted. So what I think it comes down to is Montel Jackson will be able to stuff the takedowns. He'll be able to work out of bad positions. And he kind of keeps his hips back and kind of really throws really nice straight shots and never really overcommits. So I see him winning this fight by being able to work his way back to his feet up against the fence, land good straight shots, manage distance. And I think Damon Blackshear is just going to be pressuring, looking for takedowns. And I think ultimately Montel Jackson will win 2 rounds. I'm picking Montel Jackson to win via 29-28 decision. Next fight on the card, Luana Santos versus Mariya Agapova. Look, I'm going Luana Santos. Mariya Agapova is coming off a loss against Jillian Robertson. Looked like ass in that fight, got submitted, and that was 2 years ago. Before that, lost to Marina Moroz 2.5 years ago, got submitted there. Her last win is against Sabina Mazo. I don't even remember her. So, and then lost to Shana Dobson. So, Agapova's not good. Santos is kind of sloppy, but at least she's coming off a few wins. Beat Stephanie Egger. Looks strong in the clinch. Has decent grappling. Super sloppy striking, though. But I think Agapova is going to be worried about the takedown. Going to be getting pushed up against the fence and smashed with combinations. Santos went out there and brutalized Juliana Miller. And we know Juliana Miller has that world-class striking, maybe second to only Alex Pereira. So if she's starching Juliana Miller on the feet, I think she can hang on the feet with Agapova. And I think Santos' grappling is going to be a massive advantage here. So I'm going to pick Luana Santos by just out-grappling decision. I'm going to say 30-27 decision. I could see Santos getting a finish here. I could see like a ground-and-pound finish, maybe even finding a sub on the ground. But she's relatively inexperienced, 7-1, hasn't been fighting the best opposition. I mean, up until the UFC, 3-0, 4-1, 2-0. Lost to someone who was 2-0 outside the UFC at LFA 2 years ago. But Agapova, ring rust, coming off back-to-back losses, lost 3 out of her last 4. Has beaten no good opposition herself. I'm picking Luana Santos to get it done via decision, out-grappling her to a 30-27 decision. Next fight on the card, we have Jasudavicius versus Fatima Kline. I forgot what this fight was originally. I think Kline kind of stepped in on relatively short notice, if I'm not mistaken. But I watched some of Kline's fights. She's well-rounded, has really good grappling, decent striking. You know, I think she could be a promising, I hate to say this, I think maybe she could be a promising prospect. She's only 24 years old. And look, Jasudavicius, she's gritty, but she's super sloppy. She relies on her grappling, but her grappling isn't all that great. She's coming off a win over Priscilla Cachoeira, who's a literal scrub. Before that, lost to Tracy Cortez. Before that, had a win over Miranda Maverick, where she was out-grappled a bit in that fight, I think in the first round. I'm going to go Fatima Kline. I'm going to pick Fatima Kline. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's got decent grappling, good ground and pound, good cardio. Her last few fights, I watched some of her fights at CFFC. She's taking girls down, beating her up, but she's not incompetent on the feet. So I think even if the grappling cancels each other out in this fight, I think Fatima has the advantage on the feet. I think she'll land good combinations. And I just think overall, I think she's the better fighter. She's younger. She's faster. 35 years old for Jasudavicius versus 24 years old. So I'm going to pick Fatima Kline. Not super confident in that pick. You know how women's MMA goes. But I'm picking her to win via decision. I think, again, if the grappling cancels each other out, I think she'll be able to outstrike her. She's way more technical on the feet. And Jasudavicius just walks in the shots, like hoping that she can just wear you out and ragdoll you to the ground. I don't think it's going to happen against Kline. I think Kline gets it done via decision. I'm going to pick her to get it done. Probably like a 29-28 decision win. Next fight on the card. This is another banger. I'm actually very, very excited for this fight. We have Joshua Van versus Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is a guy that I've been saying for a while, like, he has super underrated takedown defense. A lot of people are like, oh, he's a bum, he can't grapple. And it's because he's fighting guys who are really good grapplers. But he's on a 2-fight win streak now. Beat Jake Hadley in his last fight. Beat Azat Maxim. But before that, lost to Rafael Estevan. Lost to Cody Durden. Lost to Ode Osborne. Ode Osborne fight was really close. Charles Johnson's kind of tricky on the feet. But he primarily wants to strike. He will mix in the grappling occasionally. But traditionally, he's the guy that's just stuffing takedowns. Joshua Van, I'm so high on. Nasty combinations. Good cardio, good body shots, mixes in the wrestling occasionally, super young, 22 years old. Think about how crazy that is. Literally, Joshua Van was born the day that Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor on The Ultimate Fighter was announced. That's how young Joshua Van is. So, look, I'm going Joshua Van in this fight. Charles Johnson, 33, going on 34, which isn't great. I know that's not traditionally known as old, but in the flyweight division, you start to slow down a bit. While I still think he's a kind of a crafty striker and kind of has a weird, wonky style that's hard to figure out, I think Charles Johnson is going to be trying to grapple against Joshua Van. And we've seen Joshua Van, he makes great adjustments against Kevin Borjas, was getting chewed up, was getting his legs chewed up in the first round against Borjas, starts ripping to the body and walking him down, has great stamina, will mix in the offensive grappling. His last fight against Felipe Bunes, got taken down in the first round, controlled a little bit, came out in the second round, started landing devastating shots and walking him down, I believe it was. So I like Joshua Van. I think he's at a point in his career where he gets better every single fight. And I see him beating up Charles Johnson, but I don't think he's going to finish Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson's never been finished, so I'm not going to pick him to get finished by Van, but Don't be surprised. Maybe Van pulls it off. That'd be super impressive if he was able to finish him. But I see Van winning this fight. Maybe it being close early, but I see Van pulling out as of late, making adjustments. Fresher fighter, faster fighter on the feet. I see Charles Johnson trying to mix in his grappling to take down Van, and I think Van will fend off the takedowns and be able to bust him up on the feet. And also, Charles Johnson kind of has like wonky movement where he'll like kind of bend down, and Van likes to rip body shots, so that could be super effective for him in this fight. I'm picking Joshua Van to win via decision. Next fight on the card, opening up the main card. We're already to the main card. We have Cody Brundage versus Razak Alhassan. It pained me to say that last name right there. Look, I don't think I'll ever pick Cody Brundage ever again in any fight. I don't care what. You know, lost to Bo Nickel. Had some okay success early, but lost to Bo Nickel. Got a KO win over Zach Reese. I think that was a bit of an aberration. Got the DQ win over Jacob Malkoun, which he should have lost. He just quit in that fight. Lost to Cedriquez Dumas. Lost to Rodolfo Vieira. Has no fight IQ. Has no stamina. A minute in, I'm telling you right now, a minute in, if Cody Brundage doesn't have you out of there, he quits. He's like, you know what? I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter. Because Razak Alhassan is nasty on the feet, has decent cardio, decent grappling. He lost to Joe Pyfer. No shame in that. No shame in losing to Joe Pyfer. Before that, a KO win over Claudio Ribeiro. Before that, lost to Joaquin Buckley. Razor close. He was dominating at the end of the fight. Was out grappling Joaquin Buckley. So I don't think like Brundage is going to come out, throw big wild shots, look to mix in the grappling. I don't think he's going to be successful. I think Alhassan is faster. He's stronger. He's more athletic. And he's technically more sound, to be quite honest, as well. I think Cody Brundage is a guy who really doesn't belong in the UFC, who really isn't great anywhere, who was a sacrificial lamb to Bo Nickel. He's not even, he's a grocery store cashier, honestly. Cody Brundage is a grocery store cashier. I think Razak Alhassan goes out there and bodies him. So I'm going to pick Alhassan first round KO. Again, after that first minute, if Brundage meets resistance, if he meets any resistance, he packs it in. So I see the first minute, Brundage getting a little bit crazy wild, maybe have a little bit of success, but I think as Alhassan still stands there and just looks at him and throws shots back, he's going to be like, oh no, please, no, get me out of here. And I think Alhassan's going to put the foot on the gas. He's going to see that Cody Brundage is quitting. He's shooting in on desperation takedowns, and I think Alhassan finds a kill shot. I'm picking Alhassan first round KO. Next fight on the card, Christian Rodriguez versus Julian Erosa. Man, Christian Rodriguez has exceeded all expectations. This guy is nasty. He beat Isaac Dalgarian in his last fight. Controversial decision, but great scrambling, great stamina, super gritty in the clinch. And he won the fight, ultimately won the fight, whether you believe he won it or not. A lot of people were predicting him to get ran over by Dalgarian. I picked Dalgarian to win that fight, and that's up a weight class from where he was fighting before. Beat Cameron Saman in the fight before that. Beat Raul Rosas Jr. in the fight before that. So he's got some decent names on his resume. His last loss is against Jonathan Pierce 2.5 years ago. I think he's improved significantly since then. He's 26 years old. He's super well-rounded. He's impossible to hold down. He has good striking, good boxing, good decent variety of attacks. He's gritty in the clinch. He doesn't fade. And he's kind of ready to go to war. Where Julian Erosa, he's coming off a win over Ricardo Ramos. Got a guillotine there, competitive fight. Before that, got absolutely starched by Fernando Padilla. A little bit of an early stoppage. Before that, brutally KO'd by a head kick against Alex Caceres. And then his last few wins before that, not the greatest wins. Hakeem Dawodu split decision win over Steve Peterson. And he's 34 years old, going on 35. He's soon to be 35. Christian Rodriguez is 26 years old, arguably heading towards his prime, better with each and every fight, not cutting weight to get down to 135 anymore. Look, Christian Rodriguez has me a little bit suspicious about his cardio, because I know he's not like going out there and acting like Merab or some of these other guys, Nicholas Dalby, but the way he's able to scramble nonstop and not get tired, it's just insanity. It's straight up insanity. Not that I think Julian Erosa is going to be grappling a whole lot, but I think he could mix it in. He does have some submissions in his game. I think that Rodriguez will be able to mix in offensive grappling, mix in clinch work, wear on Julian Erosa. I think he's faster than Julian Erosa, and I don't trust Julian Erosa's chin. Julian Erosa has been KO'd 7 times. And while Christian Rodriguez isn't going out there and flatlining anyone recently, I think in a long, drawn-out fight, I think Christian Rodriguez could get it done via TKO. I could see Erosa fading from some of the grappling exchanges, from some of the clinch exchanges. You know, Rodriguez wearing on him up against the fence, landing shots on the feet, you know, clinching for a minute, breaking with a nasty elbow. And I don't trust Erosa's chin at all. So I'm going to pick Christian Rodriguez, maybe like a late TKO. I'm going to say third round TKO for Christian Rodriguez. I think he's the better fighter than Julian Erosa. I'm pretty confident that Christian Rodriguez gets it done. Julian Erosa just has to win on the feet, but he's slowing down, man. He's not as good as he once was. And he's always kind of been like a, you know, bottom to mid-tier fighter. I think Christian Rodriguez, believe it or not, I think he's like right now, I think he could be like a gatekeeper for the top 15, to be quite honest. I think he's showing promise. He's 26 years old. He's good everywhere. And the stamina and the durability is a massive key to success. So I'm going to pick Christian Rodriguez to get it done. I'm going to say it's a competitive fight. And then Julian Erosa starts slowing down from the clinch work of Rodriguez, from the takedowns of Rodriguez. And I think Rodriguez will do just fine on the feet as well, even if he doesn't mix in the grappling. And I think Erosa will get tired. And I think eventually Rodriguez will find a big shot on the feet, drop Erosa, following him to the ground, and beat him up with ground and pound and brutally TKO him, or brutally KO him. I'm going to say he sleeps him out cold with ground and pound shots from like a stacked guard position. I'm picking Christian Rodriguez, third round KO. Next fight on the card. It's crazy. There's so few fights on this card, but we have Gabriel Bonfim versus Ange Loosa. Ange Loosa needs to go fight Cody Brundage because he's a quitter, man. He was losing the fight. He was getting beat up by Brian Battle. There was like an eye poke / head clash, and he just straight up quit because he knew he was losing. He just straight up quit. He's like, I can't see. He was telling the doctor as soon as they came, can't see. He wanted out. He knew he was going to lose. So he gets a no contest in his last fight. Before that, he beat Reese McKay, straight up scrub. Before that, he beat AJ Fletcher, and I don't even think he's in the UFC before. Before that, lost to Minor Lizez. I don't think Ange Loosa, I don't think he's a straight up scrub. I do think he's a bit underrated, to be quite honest. He's kind of good everywhere, has good grappling, has good striking. I feel like a lot of people were picking Reese McKay against him for some reason, but I picked Loosa. But I think this is a fight to get Bonfim back on track. You know, the UFC wants John Anik to be like, yeah, the Bonfim brothers have arrived 2.0. And Bonfim is a straight up savage, man. This guy's crazy aggressive, has nasty submissions, has nasty power in his hands, has 12 wins via submission of 15 wins total. And his one loss was in his last fight against Nicholas Dalby, where he was winning early. But Nicholas Dalby is like Marab times 3. I mean, Nicholas Dalby is one of the very few guys that I'm like, you know what? I am super suspicious. I mean, he looks like if you took Marab as he currently is and you put him on EPO. That's how crazy Nicholas Dalby's durability and cardio has looked in his last few fights. And Bonfim was winning until he just started fading. I don't think that's going to happen against Loosa. I don't think Loosa has that type of pace or cardio to put on him. And what I think is going to happen here, I think Bonfim is going to do what he typically does. He's going to walk you down, be super aggressive, force a desperation shot, and then when you shoot in on him, he finds a guillotine. So I'm going to pick Bonfim. I'm going to say first round guillotine, and I think it goes down pretty much exactly like that. Bonfim's going to go out like, yeah, I want to make a statement here. I want to get a big win here. And he's going to push Loosa backwards. He's going to look to land big shots. He's going to land some shots. Losa's going to get a little bit nervous and feel like he's going to get caught, and he's going to be uncomfortable. He's going to shoot a takedown, and he's going to get guillotined by Bonfim. Bonfim is filthy with snatching up chokes. Submitted Trevin Giles with a guillotine. Minor Lizez submitted him with a mounted guillotine as Lizez was looking for a Von Flue choke before, I believe. Had a Von Flue choke against Trey Waters on the Contender Series. I think Gabriel Bonfim is leaps and bounds better than Loosa on the ground. And I don't think, like, while Loosa is maybe a little bit more technical kickboxer, I don't think he has the speed to keep up with Bonfim. And I don't think he has the power to make Bonfim really respect him. And I think Bonfim's going to walk him down, force the desperation shot, and then capitalize on it one way or another and get a submission. But I think he does get the guillotine off a sloppy shot from Ange Loosa. I'm not picking him quitting against Brian Battle where he's getting outstruck. Like, not that Brian Battle's bad, but he's getting outstruck and he just has the mental fortitude to just be like, oh, you know what? I quit. I don't want to be here anymore. I can't handle it. Bonfim's going to get him out of there. I'm picking Bonfim first round guillotine. Next fight on the card, featured fight on the card. How are we already at the featured fight on the card? We have Drew Dober versus Jean Silva. Jean Silva stepping in on short notice, just literally fought Charles Jourdain at UFC 303. And you have Drew Dober, who's coming off a loss against Renato Moicano, a very competitive fight. Got out grappled. You know, had a moment where he hurt Renato Moicano, couldn't get him out of there. Before that, a win over Ricky Glenn. What does that mean? Ricky Glenn's a straight-up scrub. Before that, a loss to Matt Frevola where he got chin there. Last big win was against Bobby Green where he was getting pieced up and then caught Bobby Green. Before that, Rafael Alves was a good win. Drew Dober's 35 going on 36. Jean Silva's 27 years old, 13-2. Hasn't lost a fight in a while. 12 out of 13 wins via finish. So this fight's going to end up in a finish one way or another. And I'm picking Jean Silva to get it done. I picked him to beat up Charles Jourdain. I think I might have picked him to finish Charles Jourdain, but I can't remember for sure. But I picked him to beat Charles Jourdain. I'm picking to beat Drew Dober. Drew Dober leaves himself there to be hit. Jean Silva has a kind of a funky style where, you know, he finds openings. He's kind of hard to get a beat on, especially early. He can mix in the grappling. I think he'll have a jiu-jitsu and a wrestling advantage against Drew Dober. And while Drew Dober hits super hard, I think Silva has good movement. And I think he has power and grappling coming back that's going to force Drew Dober to kind of question himself on the feet. So, you know, going out there against a guy like Charles Jourdain and making him look scared for his life and finishing him with like a walk-off uppercut, I don't think, maybe it's a little bit crazy. I don't think Drew Dober's that much of a step up from Charles Jourdain. A slight step up, don't get me wrong, but you have to remember Drew Dober was almost out of there against a short-notice Terrence McKinney like 2 years ago. And I don't think Drew Dober has gotten any better over the course of, you know, the last few years. I think he's kind of been the same fighter time and time again, who doesn't have the best takedown defense, can get submitted on the ground, and also is open to get hit with big shots. And we saw in his last fight, you know, he can't, you know, I thought he would beat Renato Moicano, to be quite honest. I think I picked him over Renato Moicano, but we saw him in his last fight, like, if he can't stuff the takedown, he's kind of worried on the feet. You know, I know I think it was in the second round where he reversed the takedown and hurt Moicano. But I think Jean Silva, even if he's losing on the feet, which I don't suspect he will, I think he can implement a heavy offensive game plan. But I think Silva catches him on the feet. I think he mixes in the grappling a little bit. I think he's faster than him on the feet. I think he finds some power shots. I think he has Dober backing up. And I think eventually Jean Silva finds the KO. I'm going to pick Jean Silva, second round, brutal KO, to potentially start the beginning of the end for Drew Dober at 36 years old at lightweight. You know, I do wonder, though, stepping in on short notice sometimes can be a gift. Sometimes it can be a curse. But I doubt he got out of shape. He just fought at UFC 303. It was literally 2 weeks before this card. So he's literally fighting back-to-back fight cards. There's a gap in between for the holiday or the weekend we had off, July 4th weekend. But I think Jean Silva gets it done. I'm pretty sure that he'll be able to get Drew Dober out of there. I'm picking Jean Silva, second round KO, highlight reel KO. Next fight on the card, co-main event, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikhov. Look, I think both these guys are on the verge of being dead bodies, but Salikhov's old as shit, man. He's 40 years old. He's coming off a KO loss to Randy Brown in the first round, coming off a loss to Nicholas Dalby. Last win was against Andre Fialho. That hasn't aged quite well. Santiago Ponzinibbio coming off a loss to Kevin Holland, did well in that fight, but kept getting clipped and hurt. His chin may be gone. Salikhov does have some dynamic kicks, but his hands are slow. He's slowing down at 40 years old as well. I think Ponzinibbio is going to be faster in this fight at 37 years old. I'm picking Ponzinibbio to get it done via decision. I don't think, you know, I know people say the name Muslim Salikhov and they're like, oh, he must be a grappler. He's got like a Russian name. Let's pick him now, grapple Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio has decent takedown defense. And like, unless Salikhov catches him in the first round with like a crazy kick of some sort, I don't see him getting Ponzinibbio out of there later because he's just too slow and his cardio isn't great. And he throws a lot of like high dynamic strikes. And then all of a sudden he starts to slow down and doesn't look good. He got KO'd in his last fight against Randy Brown. And I think he's going to come in with kind of low confidence, worried about getting clipped. I think Ponzinibbio is still decent. You know, I know he lost to Kevin Holland, but he had a win over Alex Morono, which hasn't aged quite well, especially considering he was losing that fight. Lost to Michel Pereira, lost to Jeff Neal. None of those are terrible losses. At one point, Santiago Ponzinibbio was looked at as like one of the future contenders at welterweight. So I'm picking Ponzinibbio to get it done. 3-inch reach advantage as well, 2-inch height advantage, 3-inch or 3-year youth advantage, pretty much 2-year youth advantage because he's almost 38 years old. I could see this one going either way, but I'm picking Ponzinibbio just to outstrike him on the feet. I think Salikhov will try to mix in the grappling once he realizes it isn't going his way on the feet, but I think he'll slow down. I think Ponzinibbio will have better cardio in this fight, and so I'm picking Ponzinibbio to win. I could see it like a 29-28, him winning the second and third round, but I think he outstrikes Muslim Salikhov to a decision win. Next fight on the card, Main event. We have Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. What a barn burner. Thank God this isn't at the Apex. Look, it was originally supposed to be Rose Namajunas versus Macy Barber. Macy Barber pulled out for whatever reason. Rose Namajunas accepted a fight against Tracy Cortez on short notice. Tracy Cortez's ass. Okay, I know people like to simp for her and hype her up because they like staring at her ass instead of watching her horrid striking, her grappling that isn't that good. You know, I thought about maybe mixing in the idea of picking Tracy Cortez just because Rose Namajunas, you know, with Pat Barry in her corner, she seems to be on the decline. She hasn't looked particularly great in her last few fights. She even got out grappled for a little bit against Hebas. But Cortez looked horrible. I thought she barely beat Jasudavicius in her last fight. You know, got taken down a little bit in that fight. She never looks good on the feet. Striking looks horrible. She doesn't look like she's improving. She even, I think, gave up her back to Melissa Gatto at one point in the fight before that. Went to split decision with Justine Kish. Rose Namajunas is a former champion. She's never really got completely washed. You know, she barely even lost a belt. She had a competitive fight with Manon Fior. Manon Fior would beat the brakes, beat the dog shit out of Tracy Cortez. And then you factor in that Tracy Cortez stepping on short notice. I think Namajunas has the grappling to fend off the takedowns. I think she has the offensive grappling to take down Tracy Cortez. And ultimately, I think she's way better on the feet. You know, I know she's a bit on the bit of the decline, you know, especially with Pat Barry's corner advice. And the mindset and the mentality is kind of weird. And you wonder if she's going to be adversely affected by the fact she's taking on a different stylistic opponent, you know, where Macy Barber's just move forward nonstop and looking to clinch, where Tracy Cortez is more content striking and will mix in the takedowns. But I don't think Cortez is good at all. She hasn't ever shown that she can beat high-level opposition. I mean, the best opponent she beat was Jasmine Jasudavicius, who honestly isn't that great. So I see this fight going to decision. I could see Rose Namajunas potentially finding a finish in this fight because I think she is far superior on the feet. But I think she doesn't really have, you know, the power that maybe she had down at strawweight. So, and Tracy Cortez, I don't think her one loss, I don't think she got KO'd. I don't have it in front of me right now. But I think Rose Namajunas just picks her apart from range, stuffs the takedowns, maybe gets controlled a little bit in the clinch. And Cortez maybe has some success early. But Cortez has never been in a 5-round fight, at least not in the UFC. You know, never, you know, fought someone as high level as Rose Namajunas, and she's taken in on short notice. So who knows where her cardio is going to be. I could see Namajunas maybe getting like a 4th-round TKO just because Cortez is exhausted. But I see Cortez trying to manage her energy the entire fight, and therefore she's just going to look slow. She's going to look flat, and I think Rose Namajunas beats her up, outstrikes her, and wins a decision, similar to kind of how she did against Amanda Hebas. So I'm picking Rose Namajunas via decision. I don't think Cortez gets around, to be quite honest. If she does, I think Cortez, if she wins this fight, she's going to have to implement a non-stop grappling game plan and use her size advantage against Rose Namajunas. I don't think that will happen. I'm picking Rose Namajunas, decision win, main event of UFC Denver. I'll say like a 50-45 win for Rose Namajunas, even potentially with a 4th or 5th round TKO. I just can't pick Tracy Cortez, especially not under these circumstances, and she's still a bit of an unknown. So let me know what you guys think of my predictions down in the comments. What do you guys think of this card? I'm genuinely curious. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.